Hello everyone, and welcome to another video of Chess Eddy. This is number 29, and today we're going to be talking about the Sicilian Defense Accelerated Dragon. So, the Sicilian Defense is played by many players, and the Accelerated Dragon is very interesting. So, we're going to be starting off with the usual moves: e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, and g6. This is known as the Accelerated Dragon variation. Just that g6 move transitions into the Accelerated Dragon. And now white plays knight c3. And this is pretty much where the Accelerated Dragon continues and starts to open up. However, there are different variations to the Accelerated Dragon. For example, instead of playing knight c3, one may play the exchange variation, which is for a more open position. So instead of playing knight c3, white goes to knight takes c6. And this leads to the moves b takes c6, queen d4, knight f6, e5, knight d5, e6, knight f6, e takes f7, king takes f7, bishop c4 check, bishop b3, e5, bishop b3, e5, and queen d1. So, right here, the reason why you play queen d1 is because if you play queen takes e5, it's a trap. So don't take the pawn on e5 because it leads to either losing the queen or even the game. So if queen takes e5, then bishop b4 check, and then c3. And the reason white plays c3 here is because if he goes to king f1, which is the square over here, then over here like this, king f1, and then black will play rook e8, and then white will be forced to move the queen, let's say here, but then it results into a checkmate. So that's why white needs to play c3 in this situation. And even though he still plays c3 avoiding the checkmate, he will still lose a queen, because then this leads to c3, rook e8, and now it's a pin. So don't take the pawn on e5 because it's a trap. So now going back to the exchange variation. So this sequence of moves is pretty direct. It's what both sides should be playing to have an equal position, and it makes the game really interesting because black has this kind of exposed king, however at the same time he's really guarded, so it opens white to be a little bit more aggressive, and maybe white can play a bit more tactical right here. So now again, before the exchange variation, instead of playing either knight c3 or the exchange variation, let's move back to g6, and now white may also move the Maroczy-Bind variation, which is c4, and this move basically allows for more control over the d5 square early on in the game. So going back to the main line, e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, g6, and knight c3. Now this actually goes on to bishop g7, bishop e3, knight f6, and already here we're already starting to notice this kind of King's Indian Accelerated Dragon, King's Indian Dragon position with the bishop here and the knight here. And now black is always prepared to castle, and then he'll have this really protected king. So we're already starting to see that position form. So after knight f6, bishop c4, castle, bishop b3, and this is the main move, the main line. Now for the pitfalls. So considering the pitfalls, we already arrived here at bishop b3, but white has a few situations where he may mess up. So bishop b3 is the correct move here. However, instead of playing bishop b3, let's go back one move, castle for black. White may also move castle to maybe think that he is safe and that he's kind of copying black and getting a safe king as black has right now. But however, this is a mistake for white because after castle, black takes on e4, and then after knight takes e4, black can go to d5, and this is just a fork of the bishop and the knight. And then bishop d3. So bishop d3 is the correct move for white because after d takes e4, then the bishop can just take on e4. And after that, knight takes d4, and then bishop takes d4, and then bishop takes d4. So that leaves white on a minor piece disadvantage. So going back to this pitfall, it goes castle, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, d5, and now as we already saw, bishop d3. However, after d5, white may also move to knight takes c6, and after knight takes c6, bishop takes c6, bishop takes d5, and c takes d5. And the position here, while it may seem equal, it really isn't because the white knight here can't move to c3 because after he goes to c3, then just pawn to d4, forking the two minor pieces. So the knight here can either move like here, or even here. However, not going to c3 with the knight means that this bishop here can attack the pawn on b2. So white is just worse here by 1.5 point advantage. So yeah, as we said, a pawn advantage, but at the same time a bit of a positional advantage because he has more space and more possibilities to develop his pieces. So going back to here, castle. We already saw pitfall number 1. Now we're going to see pitfall number 2. And this is if white plays f3. And white may play this because he might think that these pawns right here are very well guarded, and it's a very good pawn chain because, well, you have control of all these squares over here with the bishop controlling this diagonal, and then you can also castle right here and maybe even have this open file with the rook. However, while it may seem like it's good for white, it's actually a mistake because after f3, queen b6, knight takes c6, and queen takes e3, and now white is just completely down a piece. So moving on the pitfall here, instead of knight takes c6, going to queen b6, bishop b3, and this is also a mistake because black can now go to knight takes c4, f takes c4, bishop takes d4, bishop takes d4, queen takes d4, queen takes d4, and knight takes d4. And now black is pretty much up a point right here in terms of position and as well material. So going back to the main line, let's go back to knight c3, bishop g7, bishop b3, knight f6, bishop c4, castle, bishop b3. And after this, it goes a5, a4, and you can see that with the move a5 right here, black is already planning that pawn storm, and this can be stopped by a4, and after that, d5, e takes d5, and knight b4. And overall, this position is better for white because he has more control over the center. He has more space. He has more overall control, yes. And more development as well. But back to the move to a5. White can actually play castle here instead. a4, knight takes a4, and knight takes e4. So overall, these two positions in the main line are very solid positions and always give the advantage for white because of the position and more space and more control, development, and all of those things. So that was the Sicilian Defense Accelerated Dragon. I hope you learned something today, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.